on, guys? Well, talking knives again today. Today we're going to do a knife review on this knife right there. Of course, that's why it's on screen. It'd be kind of weird if I'm like, we're going to do a knife review and it's on this knife, something else, you know? But no, we're talking about this knife right here. This is a Microtech DOC. What does DOC stand for? I'll tell you. It stands for Death on Contact. You got that? Death on Contact. Wow. That's badass, huh? No, that's not badass. That's actually really, really dumb. I gotta be honest with you. One of the stupidest names for a knife I've ever heard in my life. Kind of sounds like something you'd buy for $1.99 at a gas station. Or perhaps at a kiosk at a mall, and then it breaks and you go back the next day and the guy's not even there anymore. I have no idea what they were thinking when they named that. I'm completely blown away. But you know, that being said, there's a lot of really awesome knives I like that have stupid names. So the name of the knife really shouldn't really be a big deal. It just still kind of, it makes me giggle. These are the things that make me giggle. Death on Contact. It's so mall ninja, it's not even funny. But whatever, I can get past the name because this is a beautiful piece of cutlery. Don't let the name fool you. This is a Microtech. Microtech has they have a strong following, and for good reason. They make excellent cutlery. Okay, I've never been disappointed, and this is no exception, other than the name maybe. But yeah, this is a badass knife. It just has a very not so badass name. So anyway, the knife itself comes in a ton of different combinations, all kinds of colors, different blade finishes and stuff. This one happens to be obviously the blue aluminum version. Okay, and this one has a bead blasted blade. Although I really like the stonewash blades. I actually got this in a trade. I had a viewer send me a message, hey, what's going on? I'm interested in a trade, here's what I got. And when he told me he had a DOC, I'm like, oh, I totally have to try that out. So we worked out a trade, and I got it, and it was in pretty good condition. Had a couple little scratches here and there, but I knew I'd be using it anyway, so no big deal. It wasn't a collector's piece for me. It was actually a knife that was going to be eventually reviewed, which is happening right now, as you know. But anyway, I mean, I fell in love with it. As soon as I started playing with it, I mean, it's a Microtech. If you've been around the whole knife scene for a while and you've handled some Microtechs and handled some other brands and stuff, you just kind of get it. You understand it. Right off the bat, how much, right? That's what everyone wants to know. How much, how much, how much? It's cool? Yeah, it's cool. How much? These range anywhere from $310 to like $340. Most models are $310 or $315, okay, on the web. If you go to a brick and mortar, you walk in somewhere, you're going to expect to pay a little bit more because they have overhead. Yeah, about $310, let's just say, most places. Now, something else that's kind of strange is this one's in 154 cm, but these also came in LMAX and they also came in S30V. Now, be very careful because if you're ordering these online, it might be advertised as being in S30V, but it might actually really be a 154 cm blade. I highly recommend, if you're going to be ordering these, to contact the dealer that you're buying it from. If you're buying from Amazon, from a private seller on Amazon, contact them. If you're buying directly from Amazon, contact them. If you're getting it on eBay, contact the seller. If you're getting it from a knife dealer, contact them. Okay, unless you don't care what blade steel it is, then obviously if you don't care, you don't care. They're both good, but you know, between 154 and S30V, because they basically, from what I understand, they kind of just ran out of it and they used what they had, and it's no big deal. And they're actually priced the same. The S30V version and the CPM 154 are the same price, and they both have awesome heat treats. It's kind of just a preference. Some people prefer one over the other. I happen to be an S30V guy over 154, but I have to say Microtech's 154 is done right. This thing is still sharp since I got it. And all I do is strap it up. I don't sharpen my knives very often. Just proper maintenance. But I did want to definitely point that out. Okay, you might order one and it says 154 and you get S30V, or vice versa. It says S30V, you get 154. This one happens to be a December model, which I know a lot of them in December were 154, but previous months, and this came out in 2013, but previous months to December, I think most of them were in S30V. Now, if it's advertised as LMAX, most of the time it will be an LMAX version, but there's a little confusion with the other two. So just a heads up on that. Definitely contact the seller if you want to be 100% sure as to which blade steel it has. And if they're on eBay or something, they don't know all that much about knives, who knows why they have them, they're selling them in the first place, just tell them to open the box and look at the blade and make sure it's what you want, okay? But anyway, tons of versions of this. There's also some, you know, custom shop versions, I guess you can consider them. with like beautiful mother of pearl inserts and stuff, and I mean all kinds of cool things, and blade inserts as well. But those prices go through the roof. So before I dive any deeper into the review, I will say this is worth every penny. And I said that about a couple knives in the past that are, you know, more expensive, the $300 range, $400 range. I'm like, yeah, it's worth every penny. It is. This is a phenomenal piece of cutlery. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful knife, very well made. And the price is there for a reason. There's a lot to making these knives. You can't just pump them out. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you're kind of thinking, well, you know, it's a lot of money, should I get that one? There's lots of options out there. You know, obviously, when you get into more expensive knives in the $200 or $300 range, $400 range, you kind of just have to narrow it down to what knife looks nice to you, and then go from function, you know, go to function after that. Some people, you know, buy certain knives for certain reasons. Some people are fixated just on blade steels. If it's S30V, I want it. You know, if it's whatever, D2, I want it. Some people buy knives just because of the name. You know, if it's a Spyderco, I need it. You know, some people are fixated on like Cold Steel or whatever brand. My opinion, if it looks cool to you, you know, and it's a brand that has a good you know, history, a good following, then go for it. Microtech, you can't go wrong with any Microtech. I've had dozens and dozens of different Microtech models. They've all been awesome. They've all been expensive. They've all been worth it. I've traded for a lot of them. I used to buy them all the time when I was younger. I had a whole, this has nothing to do with the review. I'm going way off board here. So I apologize if you just want to know about this knife. But anyway, I had a whole Kershaw collection, all the Ken Onion models. I mean, every single one that came out. I must have had maybe 60 knives. And I remember trading them all for a handful of Microtechs. Let's talk about some specs. I can get back on track here. The blade here is 3.75 inches long. This happens to be, again, the 154 cm version, which is noted right there on the grind. Okay. And the close length on here is 5.5 inches, making it 9 inches overall. The weight on here is 7.17 ounces. It is a little bit hefty. You do feel it, okay? It is a hunk of metal in your pocket. It's not ridiculous. The pocket clip, it actually rides very nicely in the pocket. It is definitely not a deep concealed knife. You could see how much actually sticks out. I didn't have any problems with this. I know a lot of people do like a much lower riding knife. But for the design here, it just kind of makes sense, you know, where the pocket clip is. So I really didn't have any problems with it. Obviously, it gives you tons to hold on to pull this knife out. You can also see that the back spacer here, there's a, you know, cutout on the back spacer that allows you to add a lanyard if you really wanted to. But because this is sticking out of the pocket so much, I don't foresee the need for a lanyard, in addition to the fact that the handle is 5.5 inches long. Okay, so most people are going to be able to comfortably grab this. You don't need a lanyard for it. But if you're one of those people that just want to add some knife jewelry or knife accessorizing, then so be it. Being that they come in all different colors, you can get really funky with the, you know, matching lanyards and all that kind of stuff. So if that's your bag, you could totally do it with this knife. As far as, let's focus on the handle here first before I get to the blade. This has these inserts. These are like sure grip inserts. I forget what they call them, but it's like skater tape. They are super grippy. Here's my problem though. You can see how deep they are in the frame here. So when you naturally grab this knife, your fingers wrap over, but my fingers are being supported by this aluminum framework here. I'm not feeling that grip tape or whatever it happens to be at all. So it's cool and everything, and it does offer lots of grip, but you're not reaching it. You're not getting to it. Unless you have like, well, you know, I have fat fingers now. I suppose if you have skinnier fingers, then they do fall in between these little lines that go across here. But yeah, as it is right now, it is what it is. I'm not feeling any of that grip tape there, and it is only on one side. Of course, there's a frame lock. The lockup is awesome on this. There's a lock bar insert in there as well. Of course, there's proprietary hardware, as most, if not all, Microtechs these days have. And it's kind of funny because it looks to me like cat treats. I have no idea why. If you ever had a cat, those little triangular cat treats, it's everywhere. You obviously you have a negative space here for your pivot, and all the body screws are like male versions of that design. So yeah, it's proprietary. If you want to take this knife apart, Microtech makes it difficult for you. You're going to have to purchase the bits separate. They're becoming more available. You can easily find them and stuff. It's just you're not gonna find anything at your hardware store that's gonna easily open these up. And it's for good reason. Microtech doesn't want you playing with your knife. It's I'm not gonna get into the politics of that. You either like it or you don't. But either way, they make awesome knives, even if you can't easily take them apart. As far as, again, this giant thumb stud that acts, it's actually the blade stop, but obviously it doubles as a thumb stud. It is huge, and it is ambidextrous, okay? So you can easily grab onto that. I don't care how big or small your hands are, you cannot miss this thumb stud. It's massive, okay? Look at the thing. Look at the thing next to my thumb, and I got a fat thumb, okay? So can't miss that thing. You can open it nice and easy, or you can use the flipper. Love the flipper on here. Okay, it's angled down. There is jimping on here. It's very purposeful, but it's not super sharp. It's really, really nicely done. It's very refined, easy to get to. The knife is super smooth, perfect lockup. Again, no blade play any direction. Just awesome, absolutely awesome. As far as the blade here, we have kind of a spear point style blade. This is a really, really interesting situation they got going on with this blade. First off, it is 0.16 inches thick. Okay, it is flat ground, but you can see that there's a couple different grinds here. Here's the flat. We have a swedge on top, but the swedge does not go all the way to the point. It stops before the point. This grind right here is actually much thicker than this grind right here. This is very, very thin. Okay, super, super sharp on the base of the blade here, more beefy up towards front. Okay, and again, because that swedge stops, you just have a lot more metal up towards your tip, okay, which offers a very, very strong tip design on this. Okay, much better for stabbing, and I mean, God forbid you could be prying with your knives, but it just makes for a very strong front end of your blade, okay, which is not super common. Okay, it's just very interesting. All right, so you're gonna get a little bit more performance down here, but I mean, it's still razor sharp anyway, but it's a little bit of a wider, thicker grind up here. Okay, so just understand that when you're using this knife, you're gonna get more resistance towards the tip, but it is stronger, whereas you'll get less resistance down here. There is a blade choil. Huge fan of blade choils, but I don't know why it's so big. I mean, I'm kind of thinking if it went down to where my nail ends right here, I mean, you can get another 1/8 of an inch or whatever of cutting, cutting edge, which would be nice. But, it's there. It's just a little bit too big. I think they missed out a little bit on their, their cutting surface, but whatever, not a big deal. There is a massive finger choil here. Even though it's oddly shaped, it's shaped kind of like an ear. It's very comfortable. I'm telling you, it's super comfortable. There is jimping on the back here. Again, just like the base of the, what is the flipper that turns into the guard when you open it. Okay, same type of jimping on the spine. Very, very comfortable. When you hold it in this grip, your hand locks in. There's no way you're getting this out of someone's hand. Okay, very, very sure, secure grip. I absolutely love it. And of course, when you choke down, there's still a finger choil built into the frame shape. So it's just as comfortable here as it is here. It just really locks in here very nicely. Okay, and that keeps your finger away from that edge. Really, really nice. The only downside to this as far as ergonomics is this pocket clip. Pocket clip is very wide, which doesn't make a difference at all, but you can see how much this flares up. And I have noticed that when I grip the knife, when I naturally just, here, let me close it, put it on the table for a second. Okay, so I take the knife out, I grab it, I open it. What I do is I naturally shift this minutely. I'm not shifting a lot, but I'm shifting it so that this clip is hitting a void in my palm. In other words, if this knife is right here and I grip it and I squeeze tight, ow, 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 it's hurting. It's poking right into my hand. But if I shift it back just a little where there's a natural like crevice in my hand, so there's a void, it doesn't hurt. So I can very comfortably hold this in the choked up grip like this, or hold it back here, and it's equally comfortable, but not every time I grab it. I have to kind of subconsciously shift that around my hand until I get to a point where it's comfortable to hold down. I think that there's too much of a flare up on this pocket clip. That is really the only thing I don't like about this knife. Everything else is amazing. But the clip, it's something that just really bugs me. It's a minute thing, but it's just enough where I notice it, when I'm using the knife, okay? Especially if I'm going to use it a little bit harder. Sometimes while I'm using it, my grip shifts a little and I have to keep putting it back to make sure it's not poking into my hand and making it uncomfortable to cut with. But yeah, I mean, not much else to say. I mean, this is a collaboration between Anthony Marfione, which obviously you guys know from Microtech, and then Mick Strider from Strider Knives. This is basically a flipper version of, a Strider. Obviously, a lot of Strider influence in the handle here, a little bit more Microtech influence in the blade. Put them together, and you have, an awesome collaboration. I mean, it's phenomenal, and this does kind of give you, the flipper version of a Strider. It's really, really awesome. Obviously, huge respect to both guys. Just what the hell with the name. You know, I have no idea. Maybe it was like 2 in the morning. You're like, what should we call it? And someone's like, Anthony's like, let's call it Death on Contact. And Mick just starts cracking up, and they're like, yeah, people will love that. You know, I just don't know what the story is. If any of you know how they came up with that name, please, by all means, let me know. You know, it's a little bit of a harsh criticism. Yeah, there's tons of different knives out there that have stupid names. You know, they're like death and destruction and badass and like metal and, you know what I mean, like kind of man stuff. You know, let's call it the big titty. Let's call it the, you know, huge hammer, the fast car. It's just kind of stereotypical man stuff because you have a really cool tactical knife. You got to call it, you know, the Reaper Killer. You know, I don't know. Going off the wall with this video, but I think you guys know what I'm saying. I'm just being honest with you. It's just being honest. It's a stupid name. There's been a lot of stupid names for knives before, but it didn't really stand out as much as this one. So maybe it's not fair that I'm specifically drilling this, you know, point into the video, but it made me laugh. Maybe it's supposed to be so stupid that it's funny, you know. But again, it means nothing. It really means nothing what this knife's called. It's pretty badass, but it's just funny to me. I think the name was so goofy that they had to abbreviate it, you know, so it wouldn't actually say that on the blade, because that'd be a little embarrassing. But shouldn't take away from the knife. It is every bit of badass as it should be. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I would highly, highly recommend this. Is it a good EDC knife? Yeah, it's big though. So a lot of people will probably take issue with the weight. If you're a weight person, like, oh, I don't want, you know, heavy. Maybe not for you. I get that. But if you don't mind the weight, because really for 7 ounces, you're still only getting, you know, a 3 3/4 inch blade. You can definitely do better as far as weight to cutting edge ratio. So if you're one of those people who just really get down to, well, I don't want to carry 6 ounces because I can get this knife from, you know, if you're that guy, then okay, yeah, that's not for you. But if you just think it's cool, or if you've had Microtechs and you love them and you got rid of them and you miss them and you want another one, you want something cool to try, go for this one. This is a badass knife. It's really, really nice. I like it, and it works well. So that pretty much concludes the video, guys. I know this one was a little wacky, and people are gonna say, hey man, you drunk or something? No, I'm having a nice day. Today's my birthday. I'm reviewing this on my birthday, and I'm having a nice time. So that's all. That's a good thing. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I will see you soon. Take care.